We're live, boys. I didn't even do the intro. That's how. I know. I forgot to do the intro.
Come back, Toby.
I've just put my fag
I don't think anyone missed the intro. Shall I play it? Let me play it.
Play it, yeah.
Because they might have missed it. Hang on. That's a world first, isn't it? Right, stand by, everyone, for the intro now that I should have played before I hit the go live button. Sorry about this, Toby. I'll tell you about Toby in a minute. Hang on. I'll play the intro now. This episode of the Long Run Podcast is sponsored by Skechers. I think we're back now.
Well, what a ragtag operation it is. Last week on the Long Run show, like the girls had it absolutely sussed. It went straight through, no qualms, brilliant discussions, all this sort of thing. Then we get the keys back and everything turns brown. But here we are. Once again, it's the FORDY Runs, the Long Run podcast and live stream in association with our friends and sponsors at Skechers. And tonight we've got a special guest. We've got psychoanalyst Gary Lane, who has very kindly joined us. Keen runner as well. And we're going to have a good chat about all things running and mental health, not necessarily just the basics about it being good, the exercise being good for your mental health, but also a few little tips and things to discuss about when you suffer setbacks, your mindsets and things like that. So we're just going to see how it goes, really. We're going to have a big chat about that. Thanks for coming, Gary. Anyway,
you're more than welcome, mate. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. It's lovely to have you. Hayden's in the house as well.
Evening.
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Good to be back.
Yeah, we've had a couple of weeks off because we weren't. We had a pre-record, didn't we, Christopher?
Yeah, I'm trying to do stuff here. I don't want.
Okay. I won't talk to him. Right, we're not going to talk to Chris tonight. Sorry about that for everybody who's tuned in. Yeah, for the 8 people who've tuned in to listen to Chris tonight. Unfortunately, perhaps he's not going to contribute because he's looking at the buttons now. It's like, you know how your dad used to look in the front, like under the bonnet of the car when it wasn't going. You're stuck on a lay-by on holiday or something like that, and just looking as if he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I don't.
He's not really.
I'll put that link in. What it was is an evening, everybody. Welcome back. Hope everybody's well. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad Gary's here. I'm glad the team's back. Everything's awesome. But I don't really know. Toby's dropped me in it because Toby's, and you can't, please don't tell him that I've told you, right? But he's gone away to propose to his girlfriend this weekend. Hence, he asked me to be his best man. No, honestly, don't say anything. I know we're live, but he won't be listening, so it don't matter. So he's gone away to propose. He's gone up north. It's genuine. You go around his house, the defender won't be there. He's gone away to propose to his girlfriend. And he asked me to be his best man yesterday when I saw him. And I said to him, do you mind? He said, no, it's all right. Relax, Toby. So we've got to wish Toby the best of luck with his proposal. He can fill us in next week when we're talking. What we talk about next week?
We've got loads of stuff coming out. I'll just rattle through what we've got coming up because there's quite a few little things. Big half next week, massive event. I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be an absolute cracker. I'm looking forward to it. Always a great FORDY event, and we'll be looking forward to that next week. The week after is, in my view, the best running weekend of the year. It's Great North Run weekend. Loads of us heading up to Newcastle. We have got the legends, the Geordie legend that is Ian Wilson, ultra runner extraordinaire. Did his 1,000th run every day today, and Trevor Gale. So hats off to them.
Big shout out.
Brilliant effort. Ian knows everything. What you don't know about the Great North Run, it ain't worth knowing anyway. So, but we're going to have him on, and he's going to be chatting away and talking. He's always great company. We're looking forward to that. And also the week after, we are planning a sort of London Marathon beginner's guide. So we're going to be talking all sorts of things London Marathon, and we'd like your questions. But because Chris and Toby and a few other gallant souls will be climbing the biggest mountain in Britain that day, they're going up to Ben Nevis, and they're going to try and scale that as if doing 2 marathons in the month isn't enough. They're going up to do that. So it's going to be a pre-record. So we'd love your emails to longrunshow@gmail.com. So anything, any questions about London Marathon, running it. We've got Chris will be on. Chris has run it 5 times, done 5 Londons.
I'll be going for my 5th marathon, London Marathon medal.
He's done 5th. I used to live down the road from Blackheath, so I can hopefully point you in the right direction for all your logistics on the day, where to get off the train, where to avoid stuff, where the crowds are going to be, and things like that. So everything to do with the London Marathon, we're going to do that as a pre-record in 2 weeks' time. So please get your emails in about that. Now, we've had a few technical issues with Gary already in the warm-up, haven't we? You know, as if a stressful Friday at work wasn't bad enough for some of us. So we're going to crack on now with the mental health stuff before we say a few things. Yeah, go on, mate.
Yeah, before we do that, winning inters, maybe. Are you taking on clients? Maybe, because when the London Marathon finishes, I may lose one. So email me cef@fordyruns.com. But there wasn't. But so what I was going to say is stick your questions in. We've got the great thing about this show, amazing. Apart from having Skechers sponsor us and support us, and by the way, you can 2 plugs, Wilco. Get 10% off at Start Fitness. Use the code 40runs. We don't get paid for that, but 10% off at Start Fitness. And don't forget your free National Running Show tickets because we're going to be there. Use the code 40runs. It's going to be a massive.
You want to go to Birmingham and see us.
So you want to come Birmingham and see us and hang out. But what I wanted to say, apart from those 2 plugs, was to get your comments in. We want to hear from you. So as we dive into the convo tonight, you can, whether it's, you know, when we're talking mental health, talk about mental health, or if you just want to talk about, you know, what Toby's ring that he's got for his girlfriend, you know, whatever. We don't care. Stick them in the comments. But we want to hear from you tonight. So that's the beauty of this live stream.
Have you got us on Facebook?
I don't have no idea where we are. We could be in the face. Yeah, we must be because somebody wrote.
Yeah, Penny said hello.
Yeah, Penny said hello.
On Facebook, so that's brilliant.
So well done,
that's an improvement, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So get your questions in is the point. And we want to hear from you. So sorry, Wilco.
Just before, and we've alluded to it before. Just before I start with Gary, I just want to say thank you to Sabrina, Gemma, Mel, and Abby for last week's brilliant
great show. Great show
about women's issues. But it wasn't just women's issues as well. And I'd urge, there was some of the stuff towards the end would not be of any interest to blokes. But I thought the first sort of 45 minutes, very pertinent about women's safety and things like that. And I thought it was really good, really eye-opening sort of stuff. And I think everybody could take heed with what the girls were saying there. So pop back into, on your Spotify, your Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts and dig that one out. It was a brilliant job. And we shall be having more of that. And we'll be seeing more of the girls in various sort of guises and guest appearances in the coming months. So I just wanted to thank them for that. So, Gary, sorry, mate. We've taken 8 minutes and 18 seconds to get round to talking to you.
Okay, mate. That's fine.
Thanks ever so much for joining us. So we've been meaning to do a mental health special for a long time. And the issue that we've mainly had is that we wanted somebody who could come on who was an expert in the field and could expand on what the sort of like the generalizations are about running and mental health. So if we just go over the sort of like can we just go over the basics about what the primary benefits are? Because I'm sure lots of people who are listening to this have already found that their mental health has been improved by involved in more sort of exercise.
Yeah, so, you've got like the obvious things like, the chemical release, dopamine, etc., etc. But I think for me, when you're looking at movement in general, the benefits of just getting out there and having a purpose. And I think what running gives you is, it's first of all is a purpose, isn't it? If you've got a run, you've got a plan, so you know what you're doing. And I think as human beings, if we don't have a purpose, like we fall over, don't we? It's like having a car, getting in a car and just driving around and around in circles. If you don't, if you haven't got a purpose, you'll fall over, wouldn't you? So I think it's like that's one of the benefits of it. And I think as well with regards to when people are kind of suffering and they feel a bit low, self-esteem, those kind of things are probably the first things to go. And again, running will give you, something to aim to, won't it? It just.
So do you think? Do you think the biggest thing is like the directional aspect, the fact that
I do, yeah.
goal
I really
attainment, thing like that?
Yeah, I do. And I think the reason why people, after people have had a big race that they've worked up to, and you talk about it all the time on there, is that people like hit that low, is because they got nothing else after it, have they? So, and for me, it's about falling in love with the process. It's not like about the goal achievements. The goals are brilliant, aren't they? And I would advocate everyone to kind of celebrate the wins, but it's the process. What it gives you is it gives you that consistency, doesn't it? It gives you that, you have to hydrate, you have to eat well, and you've got like that routine every day. And, and that's, for me, that's the biggest thing that you get out of it.
Yeah. So, and how much do you think it is linked to the sort of like, how compatible is sort of like the physical and the mental health sort of aspects of running?
Massively. Like for me, mental health is like, it's a doing thing. You can have all the information in the world, but if you don't do anything about it, it's not going to work, is it? So, and I think, if you look at Couch to 5K, and the phenomenal success that that's had, what you're doing is, so our brains really are designed, they're pleasure-seeking devices, aren't they? Like it doesn't like pain, so it will just kind of seek out, the quick fix. And we live in an environment now where you've got quick fixes everywhere you look, haven't you? Even if it's like through your phone. But what running does, it gives you that challenge, doesn't it? So like, consistently what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a state that's uncomfortable. And what that does, it broadens your kind of comfort zone, doesn't it? Like when you start a Couch to 5K, your comfort zone is like sitting on the couch, isn't it? So it's really small, isn't it? So like, and I think, the first day of a Couch to 5K is a rest day, I think. So like, but what you're doing is, like consistently you're getting up, you're walking, and then there's like 30 seconds or a minute of running. There's the uncomfortable in there. And then what you're doing is you're progressively getting the uncomfortable bit bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And what that does is it broadens your capacity to deal with external stresses that you would have in everyday life. Gives you more capacity, doesn't it?
So when you're taking on those extra challenges, you feel that you're able to manage situations better that will arise at work, at school, with your relationships, and all that sort of thing. So does it sort of, in many ways, does it sort of like create like a blueprint, a model for you to follow?
That's exactly what it does, doesn't it? Because I think most mental health issues are an avoidance of, or an inability to be able to manage big feelings. So what we do is the brain will go, I'm going to avoid that situation. I'm going to go like in another route and kind of get a quick fix, whether that's, through the thousands of different kind of addictions that there are. That's what the addiction does, isn't it? It's like a painkiller. But so what running does, it puts you in an environment where you're consistently uncomfortable.
Yeah. He's breaking up.
Oh, don't tell me we've lost him. We can't lose Gary. We can't lose Gary mid convo. It was getting really interesting. Oh no, what a nightmare. But this is the problem. This is the problem when we're live. This is oh, he's back. Hold tight, he's back.
Hold on.
He's back. Here he's back. There we go.
Sorry, mate, we missed you.
He was in full flow as well.
I know I was. Where was I before I got cut off?
We were talking about it being a sort of like a blueprint for other aspects of your life, the way that you manage your running plan and things like that.
So most mental health issues are like an avoidance of big emotions. So like trauma is an experience that you've had that there is like a powerful emotional attachment to it. So generally what we will do is we will avoid similar experiences. if that's like one off, if it's happened consistently through like in early development, through abuse, neglect, or bullying at school, etc., like, so our capacity to deal with external stressors shrinks. So like we will avoid similar big emotions, do you know, whatever they are, do you know what I mean? We will avoid them. But what running does is it gets you used to being uncomfortable, so it expands it. So when when the universe throws a boulder at you, you'll have more capacity to deal with like the emotional significance of whatever it is that the universe has thrown.
And it doesn't become sort of like the shock and the your whole life sort of collapses, because you're able to take stock from your experience in doing your running and things like that. So not you don't catastrophize so much. It doesn't become the end of the world, although plainly lots of very serious things happen to lots of people.
Absolutely.
But you can have the ability to you can almost be better prepared for them.
Absolutely. And again, like what running does, it focuses on your physiology, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? So like you're taking care of your body holistically, do you know, like, hydrating, diet, or whatever, or whatever that is. So your body's prepared better, do you know, like, yourself, like if you're struggling one day, you can probably pinpoint certain aspects of your life, like you're not getting enough sleep, drunk too much at the weekend, whatever that might be. So that, like, if you're looking after yourself holistically, your capacity, your mental health capacity is, you're better prepared for it, aren't you?
So is it a case of sort of like, we've used Couch to 5K as an example, and it is a good one because it's sort of like the foundation that a lot of people, it's the first thing that a lot of people do. I didn't do it personally, but it's the thing that lots of people do who go running. They start off with that and then they build up, they find it, they like it and stuff. It's almost like you're building a foundation for your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Management.
That's how I started 3 years ago when I started running Couch to 5K.
Yeah, tell us your own story, mate.
So, like, I've always been active. Played a lot of rugby when I was younger at a good standard. Always been in and around the gym, like throwing myself around doing IT classes and stuff like that. And I'd always liked running, but I would go out off the bat and do 5K. And any time I went over 5K, I'd always get injured because I used to take my ego out with me. So then, like, and that was, I think, one of the biggest things that I got off from this channel at the beginning, like, was leave your ego at home. So then I started to Couch to 5K and just kind of progressed from there and just kind of gradually built it up because I learned how to run by leaving my ego at home. And I think that's probably one of the biggest tips that I got out of it is to do that, because especially for me that's played sport at quite a decent level, there's a lot of ego about, isn't there? So you want to, like, I'm going to do, like, just run 10K off the bat and then can't walk for 2 weeks. Like,
I find it's not just that as well. I'm sorry to butt in, but the whole ego thing goes back to pressure, social media. If you're trying to be someone maybe that you're possibly not, or you're not at that stage yet, you're putting further pressure on yourself. And we all know pressure leads to mental breakdowns, mental stability. Life becomes harder because you want to be that person that maybe you're really not. So egos really, there's a lot of running. Unless you're at that absolute top level, egos, they just don't have a place in the community that we average day runners sort of running.
Absolutely. Like, and when you're old and fat like me, do you know what I mean? It's no good.
So, Hayden, how do you find that your mental health gets boosted by your exercise and running?
I've been, is lucky the word? I'm not sure if it is. I've never really suffered severely from any kind of mental health, but the one thing I will find with running and actually it's quite recent for me, where I could see me going down that route, if that is the right way to put it, without a doubt, and is injury. So for a runner, your almost biggest fear, if you're really into this running, it becomes something that you really want to do, then you'll stop from doing that that becomes a problem. And for me, and I know a lot of athletes, well, I've listened to a lot of people talk about this, injury is one of the biggest things that can lead you down that path that isn't the nicest path. It plays with your mind. It stops you doing something you love. And recently, literally, I've had a stupid little injury that probably was going to take me out for 2 or 3 weeks. All sorts go through your mind. Am I going to be able to run again? Should I give this a miss? Am I getting too old? Should I stop this? Should I just do coaching? Should I just do... All these things go around in your mind. And if you've got any background of anything where you're not at your most stable, wow, it's an absolute minefield out there. And especially as well, if you're using running to help with your mental health, and suddenly you get injured and you can't do that running. What do you do?
Yeah. What about setbacks, Gary? How about, people coping with that when they've made a bit of progress?
Yeah. So like, it was interesting. Like, you sent me over a question earlier on, which was like along those routes. And like, they talked about, feeling low and like envying other people going out, etc., etc., etc. And I think for me, like, if you look at, if you look at your body, you get injured because you've got a weak point in your body. So, through overuse, overtraining, whatever that issue is, your body will give out. But for me, like, generally is, like Hayden, what you just said, like, so people generally will focus on what they haven't got. Do you know what I mean? Like, you haven't got, you're coming from a place of scarcity, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? Where you can't run. So for me, it's about focus on what you can do. So, it gives you an ideal opportunity to focus on your strength and conditioning. You can kind of cross train, go on a bike, go swimming. I know it's not ideal, but like, if you set your mindset as like, I'm going to come back stronger, I'm going to come back better, and focus on, what you can do rather than what you can't do. And I think the other thing is we get into that victim mentality, don't we? Do you know what I mean? Like, where you kind of poor me, this, that, and the other. And it's, but I think if you look at, if you kind of slightly change it and look at it as in, this has happened for me, not to me. So it's happened for a reason. So it's happened because, my calf is, needs strengthening, or or whatever the injury is, and focus on what you can do rather than what you can't do. And I think most people do that generally in life, don't they? Do like, I think as human beings, we are utterly world class at telling everyone like how bad things are. Especially in this country, do you know what I mean? We are like, gold medal holders, aren't we, at telling everyone like how bad things are. But generally, like, we move away from celebrating our wins and looking at kind of things that are going right and the things that we can look forward to.
I'd imagine that, in your professional capacity, you see lots of people with lots of different issues and lots of different, virtually unique. I'd imagine everybody's got their own thing. Yeah. How much do you talk to them about the benefits of exercise and running? And is it something that you're keen to sort of talk about?
What movement in general, really? Do you know, like, when somebody comes to me, with challenges in life, generally, like, in an assessment, I will look at holistically look at their overall health. Do you know, like, look at, are they sleeping? What's their work-life balance like, etc., etc., etc. And then, like, kind of encourage people to kind of have a morning routine where, you're getting yourself in the best physical state to go and attack the day. Do you know what I mean? Rather than, tip yourself out of bed, drink a coffee, no breakfast, and then go straight to work. And or like even get up, have a coffee, watch the news, become like, and the news is everything again, and it's telling you what's wrong with the world. There's very little kind of positive affirmation that you're going to take out of watching the news every day. Then you go on your phone.
He's gone again.
Oh, not again! Just at the right moment. It's like, it's like that bit. If you're like watching football, and then what was it? One of the Champions League, was it one of the games when it just froze, or was it the England game when it went to an advert?
That's
like,
right.
You're so engrossed in the combo and then like that.
Yeah, should we read a few sort of like observations that people have read from the
good
comments?
stuff,
Because there's
actually.
been some good stuff.
We've
Oh, I
had
like the
some-
ticker, by the way. That looked pretty flash.
Yeah, I had that. I was I was trying to get rid of. If you're listening to this on the podcast, we show some stuff up while this is going on. Some like, we're sponsored by Sketches, 10% stuff into it. And I found this thing while I was, I left one up there by accident, and I was trying to clear it, and then I found this ticker thing, so I started playing with that. So sorry about that. Right, hang on. So yeah, so we've had loads of comments coming in, like loads. And
do you want to rattle for a few then?
Well, we've got questions, and we'll come on to those.
Yeah.
Firstly, I think somebody said that Gary's got the biggest drinks bottle ever, which is quite cool.
Yeah. Hydration, it's important.
Cool, blimey.
Yeah,
it's like a boiler.
I won't tell you it's full of beer.
Actually, to be honest with you, most of them are questions, so we're probably better off.
Well, should we fly through a few of them then?
Okay, right, hang on. Some of them are not related to what Gary's talking about, so hang on. Right, do you get first question? Do you get running envy when you are injured and can't run, but you see others running? Hayden?
Absolutely. Easily answered.
Killer,
absolutely, 100%.
I think that's one of the biggest killers of running, like you say, is that, and you was just talking about it, is that when you're injured, you're on the side, and you're seeing everybody.
Before I was running, when I was a football reporter, and I used to be talking to footballers, and they'd be like, "Oh, I've not played in 6 weeks. It's terrible. They've got an injury and they can't play and all that." I used to sit there and think, "What are you moaning about, mate? You're a professional sportsman. You get paid a shed load of money. You're sat on there. You're not even doing it, and you're moaning." Now I'm a runner. If I can't run for a week, I am climbing the walls. And that's been one of the big eye-opening things that sort of like linking my what I do professionally and what I'm like my running experience is that I really appreciate what these people go through when they can't do what they want to do.
Well, Hayden said about it with the elites. I mean, there are elites who have come out and said that they're suffering with their mental health because they've not been able to train. Even the guys who've been hit by COVID and stuff like that, not been able to run, and they've really taken a dive. Some of these, these elite runners who probably got psychotherapists working with them and all this sort of stuff, but genuinely, they have been struggling. You see it with footballers. They get injured, then get dropped, then they get farmed out on loan, and then and they're the guys you read about it. They come out and they say, yeah, genuinely they've been suffering. So
and then they're sort of like 23 years old. What am I going to do the rest of my life?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, one of the biggest examples is Kelly Holmes. She's quite open about it now. She wasn't back then, 20 years ago. Gary, no more than anyone. This wasn't really talked about. Now we're on a Friday night, 4 guys who like a bit of running. We're talking openly about mental health. 20 years ago, this wouldn't even happen. No matter anyone, it was seen as it just wasn't.
Well, she was in the army. You just got told to get on with it. Just got told,
absolutely,
cowboy up and crack on. Well, it's like I'll give you an example, Hayden. I went to see the doctor, and the doctor just said to me, "Oh yeah, we all have ups and downs. Don't worry about it."
Wow.
I went, "What?" And then that's afterwards. Then I got told that I had ADHD when I went to see. But that's what the doctor told me. I generally sat there and like looking for help, and they went, "Oh, we all get ups and downs." Qualified GP down the road should be struck off, but that's what. But people, they didn't. There wasn't as much awareness around it, and people didn't talk about it so openly. And I still don't think people talk about it openly enough. But it's frightening. Like as you say, especially when Kelly Holmes in the army. I mean, it's good now that they do a lot more for it. But can you imagine back then? So yeah, it is a tough one. But next question: do you see a difference between people that run indoors on the treadmill versus outdoors in the fresh air and the big blue sky? I know where they're coming from with that. I don't think that's a question in terms of who's quicker, who's better, and all that sort of stuff. It's more of a how do they?
Yeah, the value of being outside.
Yeah, the value of being outside, nature, fresh air, or getting on a treadmill and drilling it out. Yeah. I mean, Hayden, did you do much work on a treadmill?
I don't, to be honest. Recently, where I've been away and it's been like ridiculously hot, you find yourself gravitating to the gym because you've got air conditioning. You go on the treadmill. It's different. If you get used to a treadmill and you start on a treadmill, and if it works for you, absolutely fine. But relating it back to good mental health and goodness for yourself, getting out there, there's nothing better. Going out for a walk can have just as good effect on your mental health as it can going for a run. We're talking about running.
Yeah.
Going out for a walk will have the same effect. So
Well, any
you
exercise.
can combine the two. It's, double
Yeah,
bubble.
any exercise. I know myself, some days you're just having a what's it day and just to go out and walk the dog or just to go out for a stroll can make a huge difference in relation to the question of blue skies, nature, fresh air, and the difference that
But
makes.
then since you've done the running and all that, you're more inclined to sort of like be proactive and think, oh, I'll just take the dog out for a walk. I might cheer up a bit.
Yeah, you don't anything like that. Or I'll go down. I won't take the car. I'll walk down and get a pint of milk. It's that sort of mentality I think as you get when you become physically active versus people who may not be physically active. You take those options, those life choices that probably benefit you without you even knowing it. And that does have a positive impact on your mental health. The fact that I do think that it is good. Treadmill running is amazing, and I think it's awesome. And those guys who do it, and I'll give it a shout out to Sarah, who my brother-in-law's friend. She runs, and she's always placing like second or third or first as female. She has all her training on the treadmill, and then she'll just rock up and do a run. But I would always recommend, if you can, to get out and run outside. Just take in Mother Nature's playground and enjoy it, because it does. As human beings, we are meant to be outside. So
this is a really interesting thing from Penny Rushford, friend of the show. I've recently found myself comparing myself to others at the local running club. Now this could be, we've talked about injury setbacks and dealing with that sort of thing. I'd imagine that can be something, Gary, that can affect people once they get so far down the road on the running route.
Absolutely. I think, and comparison is the killer of happiness, isn't it? Like if you continuously comparing yourself to other people, for me, it's about you looking inside and like celebrating what you do, isn't it? Rather than comparing yourself to others. And I think, I've had the running club that I belong to, I've had kind of, there's that kind of elitism thing, isn't there?
Don't get me started, Gary. Don't get me started.
I'm going to put a sock in it because I will have a massive rant about it.
You know what? Sorry, cut in on Gary, but Rod just made a good point, because it goes back to what we were saying on the treadmill question.
Great.
And it actually links in well. He was injured and cheered on club runners to help me feel sorry for myself and enjoy the process. It's a really good thing. With the link with Park Run, go down if you are injured and you are struggling because maybe you are living on your own or whatever, and running's your only thing or whatever. Go and volunteer at something, because that can have a massive positive impact on your life and your mental well-being. Not only are you around people, but you've got that purpose. What Gary said at the front end, which was quite interesting, was you've got that purpose back, and you've got that reason to get up out of bed. You're someone who can struggle, to some people to get out of the house, to have that purpose in their life that is not there because of injury, or not there because for whatever reason they can't run or cycle, swim, whatever. Going and volunteering at something is quite powerful. And then it goes back to that thing what we just said about being outside, being getting that vitamin B, or is it vitamin D? Which is the sun? Vitamin D, isn't it? Vitamin D, getting some of that on you.
And being social. And being social. And and the great thing about Park Run, and we'll talk about Hayden's adventures in a bit, but is that social element and that community aspect that we thriving through FORDY Runs community. There's that social aspect of Park Run or whatever it is you're doing, being able to talk to somebody, just running along. And that's what I always think is that the difference you can make when you're running along with someone, because there's some miserable people out there, right? Who just don't talk to anyone. And you know what? I've got no time for anybody who's miserable anymore, because life's too short, as I've said a million times.
Well, that's right. He's going to propose to his girlfriend and not see you anyway, so it don't matter.
It don't matter. Toby's gone, isn't he? Now he's under the thumb. But it's to talk to somebody. People get shocked when you running along them in a race and you start talking to them. Well, why not? Or if you're at a park run, start chatting to somebody as you're running along, because that person maybe just come out for the first time. They could be out here because they've got the world on their shoulders, and having that convo with you be it for 3 seconds. How you doing, mate? I always get annoyed, right? This really is one of my biggest bugbears, and this is a pre-warning to anybody out there. When I get messages from people, the first thing I think of when I get it, nobody ever asks me how I am. I make a point when I message somebody, I always ask them how they are, because that person could be going through anything. And they might think, oh, he's just asked me how I am. I'm all right, actually, FORDY. Not being it's a nice way. And it really annoys me when people don't ask me, because you're after something, you don't care. You don't know what I'm going through. You don't know what that person you're messaging is going through that day. It takes 2 seconds just to ask them before you get onto what it is you want from them. Just ask them how they are. How's your day been? That can make a big difference to somebody. And it's a tip for everybody who's watching this, hopefully. Just ask next time you're thinking about sending a message to someone, before you do that, just ask them how they are, how their day's been. Or if you're turning up to a club run, just ask them, how are you? How are you doing? Because that could be the point in which they actually open up to you and say, you know what, FORDY, or hey, I've had a really crap day because, you know, my best friend has just had some bad news. And, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. You know, are you okay? You know, that's the sort of thing. And that support could actually save that. I'm not over dramatizing it. That could actually save somebody's life, because they might think, actually, that person cares. And that's the difference. I think we've got into a real state in our social aspects now, where it's all people just message this, message that. No one really cares as much about what people are going through.
Do you? When was the last time you used your phone to talk to? Well, I use my phone to ring Gary up and saying, "You got connection problems, mate? Everything all right?" But
it's true.
It's all text, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And also, when you're texting people, it is so difficult to contextualize your conversation and
void of emotion. Yeah.
You can, you know, you can't articulate when you're having a laugh, when you're deadly serious sometimes, and people can always, most of my messages always end with a sort of like crying, laughing emoji, because I want people to know that I'm not serious when I'm saying stuff, you know.
My point is next time you message someone, and even if you take this from this live stream podcast, whatever, just ask them how they are. Because honestly, as runners, I mean, it's great what Hayden does, and you know, the other satellite group leaders, you know, and all these champions that we have in 40 runs, you know, who lead these sessions. You know, they're not providing, but they're putting together something that people can come up to on a weekly basis, and they know they can rely on that to interact with other human beings. And there is an opportunity there to talk to somebody if that's the case, right? And that's why it's so powerful. Club, communities, everything, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to now, Gary's had a few technical
issues.
Back now. I just wanted to say, you know, we were talking about this, like Penny's mentioned about comparisons with other people. I mean, speaking personally, I would say that being around other people and stuff like that is far more beneficial than it is detrimental to my experience. I get so much more about it by being in the company of other runners rather than worrying too much about what everybody else is doing.
But that's something you've got to learn. That's something you've got to learn yourself. Gary probably tell you, something you've got to learn yourself. You want to be around people and you want that social interaction, because ultimately that's going to make every aspect of your life a lot better. You learn more. You become more involved with people. That's the best thing for your mental health. But you have to find that limit where they become someone you talk to, as opposed to someone you want to be, or somewhere, or setting a standard where something you want to get to, because at times we're all different. We're all made completely different. Some of us are slow, some are fast, some are tall, some are small. We are what we are, and just we all interact and we all get on socially. It's so corny, but the world would be a better place.
No, you are. You're not corny, mate. You're on the money. I tell you, it's an important topic to talk about.
Would you agree with that then, Gary? You know what?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know, like, we're social beings, aren't we? Do you know, like, we're meant to be like in community, do you know, and you know, when that's taken away from people, you know, it's devastating. They kind of lose a sense of who they are, a sense of identity. And you know, with that comparison thing, I guess, you know, like, one of the things that I try and kind of encourage people to think about is, like, you're not the star of anybody else's movie. Do you know what I mean? You're the star of your own movie, and people are more worried about what you think about them rather than what they think about you. And that's the ironic thing about it, isn't it? Do you know, most people are just, you know, most people are the same, aren't they? They're more worried about what you think about them.
Yeah, it's overthinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know? And and the other thing, like people have got, everyone's got stuff going on in their lives, haven't they? Do you know? And you're not the star of their movie. They're more worried about what they got going home indoors, or what's happening at work, or going down the supermarket and getting what they're going to pick up for shopping later on, rather than do my shorts match me top or whatever it is.
And that goes back to what Christian said about, and this is why I think it's absolutely spot on, just that conversation starter of asking someone, how are you? How are you? How's things? And that would evolve to like what you just described about people saying, yeah, not too bad. I had to do this today. That wasn't too great. And the more they talk about it, the easier the issues become. The issues disappear. They don't become an issue because they've been shared.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's frightening the amount of suicides, right? Not to take us down a dark place, right? But a lot of that, they say, is because those people are on their own. They've taken that inside, and they've not been able to share whatever they're going through. And that is their last resort. They can't see any way out of it. So by you saying to somebody, whether it be on a run, bike, cycle, shops, stand in the queue waiting to pick your Chinese up, whatever it is, just to say, you all right? How are you? You just don't know what difference that can make to somebody. And that's the thing for me, I think, with anything that I've learned through everything that, I've been through, and, and continue to go.
It comes back to the same thing, this whole mental health thing. And again, it's cliche, but all this, it's okay not to be okay. We need to talk. And it's the thing that needs to be just pumped into everyone everywhere.
Yeah, talk about it. Talk about it. Openly talk about it. If you are struggling, if you're not having a good time, talk about it. I do. I'll tell Nick. I'll say, Nick, I've got 3 pads going here. I'm writing down. I've got 3 lists going, and I still don't know what I'm doing. And I'm up and I'm down, and I'm left and right, and I'm angry, and the next minute I'm happy, and I'm all over the place. And I know that I'm hitting the ceilings, and I know I'm going to crash. So, and I'll then go and tell someone, or bless him, he's out there probably on one knee at the moment, and he won't hear it. But I'll bend Toby's ear for 3 hours and talk about it. Si the other week, poor Si, I'd had a gut full of it, right? And I'm lucky because I get to run with these guys. Poor Si just stood there. I think he just ran and just nodded the whole way. Do you know what I mean? Because I just literally unloaded on him, right? Yeah. But that's how lucky I am. And that's the other side of running, and being part of something like what we've got here as a community and as a club. There's people that you can share. But if you are on your own, right, because this is the other flip side of it, as FORDY runs with the affiliated club, we do have solo runners. We don't necessarily have satellite clubs all over the country, although I'd love them all over the country. But if you are on your own, try and get yourself into a local, whether it be a club or a community of, even the park run or whatever, where there is a social aspect of it. So you might then bump into somebody who is also maybe struggling a little bit or whatever. But going back to what Gary said at the start, you then might have a bit of a purpose, and it might just pull you out of that hole that you might be going down that you can't get out of, because you've got something. When you wake up, you go, all right, tonight I've got to go and do X. And it might just be that little bit of fire under you that keeps you from going down that really, really dark place. Now, Wilco, we've got quite a few questions. We've done 43 minutes.
Mate, we'll rattle through them.
There was one right at the front end, and we'll pick that one up because I want to get Hayden's answer on it, really. I know what your answer will be, because it'll be, no, I only do 60%. We went through a time. What was this? We went through a time when it was illegal to go and see friends. Yeah, that's true. It's true.
I think this is a great point for James Henderson. That we went through a time when it was illegal to go and see friends. I think it's made people appreciate the simpler things in life. I definitely think that in the last 18 months, we've hit a bit of a reset button.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Completely
with that.
agree.
Yeah, that and all. Again, can't do 2 things at once because I'm trying to scroll through this. Where was it? I'm trying to find this question. It's on there. The good news is, Wilco, we haven't had any trainer questions tonight, which is good news. Right, so here it is. This is not for you, Wilco, because I know the answer. It's got nothing to do with mental health, by the way. So I apologise to everybody.
Yeah, but chip in, Gary. Feel free to offer opinions.
Yeah, right. So, Oh no, that's not it.
I have been to Burnley and it wasn't
I've been to
sunny.
Burnley as well. Right, which ultra marathon are you running next year? This is Cam UK. I'm doing the Wall 2023 on June the 17th. So I want to throw that out to Hayden. Hayden, what ultra are you doing next year?
You've thrown that out to me because you know, and you do know, they're just not for me. Ultras are not
You're not
for
doing an
me.
ultra.
I'll be the first to admit it, and people will shoot me down in flames. They're not for me. They're just
but
really,
but Hayden, you run 30 miles. You did the Harp 24, right? And that's what doesn't make any sense to me. You say you won't do an ultra, but he went and ran over 30 miles in less than 24 hours because you had to do it. So you did an ultra.
I was taking one for the team.
Yeah, I know, but so I think genuinely, I've had a brilliant idea, right?
Oh God!
No,
You wouldn't
I've
believe
had a
what
brilliant
stuff
idea for
starts
next
if I've
year.
had a brilliant
Right?
idea.
I've got Toby working on a top secret, right? Top secret mission for us next year, right? It involves some miles that are over 26, right? But Hayden, I can promise you an ice cream. So if I can sort it out, are you up for it?
If you swap the ice cream for a beer, I'll think about it.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah. And the good news is we'll have a support vehicle. It's a little black Mercedes A-Class, and she lives in Harlow. And she doesn't run that much, but so we'll have a support vehicle, it's a Mercedes, so you can have a lay down in that. But I think next year could be when we break Hayden's Ultra Duck. There's no point Wilco doing it, as I said, because he'd have to do more than 60%. What?
Ultras lend themselves to 60%. It's
60%,
you spend a lot of time walking.
60% are made for ultras.
You think so?
You spend a lot of
Yeah.
time eating and walking.
So what you're saying is, Wilco, you're up for this as well. So you all heard it here.
I prefer more information.
It's the 26th of August 2000, and they both just said that they're doing it. Gary, over to you. Are you doing it?
If Wilco's doing it, I'll definitely do it.
Wilco's doing it. I think everybody will sign up if they know
Gary, what have you
Wilco's
got
going
in
to do
your
it.
diary, mate? What sort of races you up to and what are you doing?
Me?
Yeah.
Great North Run in a couple of weeks. That was my first.
Cool. We'll see you there.
Yeah, that was my first ever race last year. That behind me.
Brilliant.
Then I've got a couple of off-road halves and a 10-miler. I'm going to go to Ibiza next year and do that with you, Mob.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
That's going to be like an ultra.
Yeah, I'm just kind of, I don't know whether to do the full one or the half. I've only ever done one full marathon and it absolutely broke me. But I think it was probably because I did the Manchester Marathon 2 weeks after I did the Great North Run last year. And that was a bit too much too soon, I think.
Yeah, that is a lot. That is a lot.
I'm doing a half in Ibiza.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be moving from Ibiza when they know that you lot are coming. If you don't know what we're talking about, by the way, if this is your first time listening to this amazing, it's going to be award-winning, so we'll say that now. Award-winning, the fifth biggest podcast in Peru. This is your first time. Next year, for Helen's 50th, and you'd think she was 18, not 50. I'll get kudos for that later, boys. She's got a birthday party next year in Ibiza, and everybody is basically sacking everything else off and heading over to Ibiza in April. So if you are planning a holiday to Ibiza, don't go in April because it'll be ruined. Right, so I tell you what I do want to get to, Wilco, before we finish, because we are getting that. Who says award-winning? Award-winning. That's probably quite true. There must be. See that? Look. I don't know who that is. Award-winning. That is us. Especially after the Open this morning when I didn't even show the thing. How do I get these things off? Sorry about it. Right. So yeah, last week was it last week? I can't remember the park run. We need to know about. The Wales park run, Hayden. Firstly, if anybody's seen it, was the best picture that came out of it was Hayden absolutely ruined and broken on the bus on the way home. He was like comatized. He was done.
So, folks, this was the latest FORDY Runs Extreme Park Run, which Hayden was one of the ringleaders on, along with our good friend Alan, heading off down, and Carolyn, you headed off down to the Severn Bridge, didn't you? And did the one down there. Got up at some godforsaken hour.
Yep,
And you're like you had a good time.
Broken. Yeah, well, we had different pickup points. We had a coach. We had one pickup point in sort of Dartford, Kent at 4 a.m, one in Surrey at sort of 4:45 in the morning, and one at Heathrow at 5:30. So everyone was up really early, but everyone was in good spirits, to be fair. And we headed on down to Severn Bridge, done the park run there. Sort of, when I say took over, we took over. It was honestly the start and the finish is under this tunnel, and the echo is just incredible. So as soon as the 40 guys finished, we were sort of lining the tunnel and clapping and cheering everyone in. It was loud. It was loud as anything. The atmosphere was just fantastic. I think the run director pulled one of our guys, I think it might have even been Chloe, or maybe it was Alan, and just literally commented saying, this is the best park run we've had for ages.
Oh,
simple
that's amazing.
Simple as that. Everything about it, everything that 40 Runs running community stands for, it was on full show that day. It really, really was. As a community, it's fantastic.
I just wanted to give a shout out to my mate Tracy Cooper, who goes to Hertford with us, because she's done 3 park runs. She's done Panzanger, which is the one that's across the road from her. She can walk there. She went to Dublin and she went to Wales, and that's it. She's only done 3 park runs.
I'll tell you what, Chevy signed up for the next one as well. I must be honest, we had 52 people on the coach and another like 12 or 13 that met us there. And I don't think there's not one of them that wouldn't have said that they'd do it all over again next week. It literally was that. It was that sort of day. Everything about it.
Aidan, can we give a date out? Can we give any direction out when it's potentially coming, or can we confirm anything? What can we say to all the people out there who might be wanting to get involved in this, whether they're podcast listeners? And how random's this, right? And I was going to
give her a shout. Her name was Ruth Champion.
There we go. She was running along in Broxbourne, stopped mid-run and went, I'm just listening to you guys on the headphones. Looked quite confused because she was listening to us as we were standing there. And then joined the session and then had to put up with the hill session that Toby gave her. And then she ran home. It was absolutely brilliant. So if you're a long-run show listener... And you've not joined the 40 Runs Facebook community, you need to do that, especially if you're living in Mongolia where it's now law.
Well, we're doing well in Peru as well. We were 5th in Peru this week.
You need to make sure you join that. But basically, there's going to be a part 3. Is that right, Hayden? Am I getting ahead of myself?
This is right. And as you just said, the best way to be part of this, and honestly, you're going to want to be part of it, is to join the Facebook page, a running community by 40 Runs. And I believe there could be a post going out as early as tomorrow with some details.
Are you able to give us any clues regarding a venue?
It's not worth my life.
It's that
bad. It's that bad. I've had Mel Howes, fan of the show, star
of the show, mate.
I had it last night. Literally, she had me honestly all night. She badgered me for details of the new one, but it's top secret. And by the way, I need to go back to that point. Chris's favourite photo was of me being absolutely I had enough. I was done. I was asleep on the coach on the way home. If anyone ain't seen it, the best picture, you've got to see it, honestly. If you go on the group, you'll find it. There's a picture of our Mel Howes.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly.
Love
me for that.
Yeah, there's a picture.
Exactly the one you mean.
We've all seen it. Find it. Oh, it's incredible.
Hayden, also, you've got a special run with your Surrey group this week that you wanted to highlight.
Yeah, we have. Chris actually touched on something about us a couple of weeks ago with the community. Whenever one of our own needs help, we're always going to be there for them. That's without a doubt. With Matt, with the football shirts, etc. One of our very own, Rich Quinn, sadly, and I'm not sure how many people know this story, but his son passed away from a complete unknown heart problem that he had at the age of 25. Really sad, just in the middle of the night, completely random. No one knew nothing about it. It's a really, really touching and sad story. And he's one of our own. He's a big FORDY. So he started to raise awareness and money about the heart disease, about people having their hearts checked. He started to raise a load of money for standard checks for people to go and get these done to see if they have these heart problems. And he's raised enough money for that. And now he's moving on. He's pushing this and pushing it. And he wants defibrillators put into a lot more public places. So to publicise this, he's come up with this Run for Dan. Dan was his boy. And a lot of people have signed up. And you make a donation to his page. He's provided T-shirts for everyone, and quite a few people have got the run from Dan. Throughout September, you're going to see a few posts throughout the whole 40 Runs community, people doing the run for Dan. Us down at the Surrey one, we're going to meet up this Thursday, quite a few of us, and proudly display our T-shirts in honor of him and show him that, you know, this is a community. We all come together. You know, it's tough. It's not a nice story. It happens, and he's been strong. It ties in well with the show today. Mental health, things like that could really break you. But with the community and people around you, this is what we're here for. Well, everyone's here to help each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had the absolute pleasure of spending a fair amount of time with Rich. And absolutely love the guy. And yeah, what he's doing is incredible. So yeah, I think it goes back to actually full circle in terms of you know what running can do through absolute despair, grief, you know, whatever you're facing. There's always that option, and it's not going to solve your problems, people, right? But it can help. It can smooth out that ride a little bit. You know, as I always say, if I don't medicate because I run, and people, that's what, you know, and that's the thing with me. And I know if I'm not running, I get a bit twitchy, and I can feel like, as I said, I've got those triggers that I know that are coming, and running sort of smooths out the ride for me. So, you know, it is there. It is a comfort blanket that I pull on, and it can be the same for people out there. There are benefits. So just because you've gone into that hole and you think the last thing you want to do is go out for a run, go out for a walk, you know, and like as we just said, that will then reignite that whole process of the purpose of the fresh air, of the you know, the nature and that sort of stuff, and getting that mind back into that equilibrium that it needs to be in to function properly, and you move forward as a human being. Spot on. Like I always say, we only get one rodeo, people. So make sure that you, whatever works for you, you use that as a weapon to keep you on the straight and narrow. And running is a powerful thing because of what we spoke about, because of the community aspect, because of the purpose, because of the health benefits, because of the fact it makes you not necessarily go for that double Big Mac. You may just go for the cheeseburger because you think I've got to run in the morning. You know, there's those little benefits to being a runner that can actually really physically and most importantly mentally make a huge difference. Right, Wilco, I've got some potentially bad news for you.
For me personally?
Yes. I've got to do, you may have forgotten, I've got to do the outro. So I would appreciate it if you could sort of take over for the next minute or two. And
you just, okay, well, I'll rattle through all the
yeah, because I need to figure out what's going on now.
Stuff then.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, I think you've done an excellent job. You're getting the hang of this, though, mate. I think.
Yeah, I thought the start was brilliant.
Yeah, well, you know, we didn't get off to the best of starts, perhaps, but then, you know, it's not how you start; it's how you finish, isn't it? And
absolutely.
Well, we'll see how you get on.
Yeah, so I was going to say, let's wait, Wilco.
Gary, thanks ever so much for joining us. I'm sure there'll be an opportunity, perhaps again for another time. We can talk about some stuff if things come up. It's lovely to have you along.
It's been my absolute pleasure. I feel really blessed, like that you've had me on and listened to me waffle on. And apologies for the internet.
No problem, mate. Tim Berners-Lee's problem, not yours. Thanks ever so much for coming, and we look forward to seeing you in Newcastle.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for all your support and answering everybody's questions and stuff. Everybody, if you
can I have one shout out? Can I get one shout out quickly?
Yes. Because
tomorrow, part of our Surrey club, we've got two young ladies. They like me calling them young ladies. Mother and daughter, Angela Maxon and Jamie Maxon. Angela is running her 300th park run. Wow. And her daughter, Jamie, is running her 200th exactly the same day. Both.
Where are they? They're Bushy
Park. Both 40s. Both absolute. What's fantastic achievement for both of them. So I promise to give them a little shout out.
Oh, that's great, mate. Yeah. Best of luck with that for tomorrow, folks. Thank you very much for joining us. If you didn't manage to catch us on the live stream, you can always download us on Spotify, Amazon, or Apple, your favorite podcast provider of choice. You'll find us there. Hopefully, Chris will get that out there, and that should be there from sort of like about 8:30 on a Friday. Take us on your long run. Thank you very much. Thanks to our sponsors, Sketches. Thanks to Gary again for coming to see us. Remember, please, you've got a couple of weeks to think of all your London Marathon questions that you didn't think you had to ask. Bung them in an email, send them to longrunshow@gmail.com, and we will get through those, hopefully, in our pre-record in a couple of weeks. Next week, we're all looking forward to the big half, which is going to be fantastic. I'm really charged for that because that was the first one I ever did, and I've not done it for 4 years, so I'm really looking forward to it. Sabrina will be along. I think Sabrina's coming along next week. She'll be able with us and bring a bit of sanity to the operation. So she'll be with us.
We've got post-race drinks all sorted at the Gypsy Moth.
Oh well, what more do you want?
Next week, yeah, good chat.
Yeah, so we'll talk about all the arrangements, all the good bits about doing the big half, and we'll move on to that next week. Thank you very much for joining us again. We shall see you next week.
Do I need to play the outro thing now?
Yeah, that's how it works, mate.
Oh, right. See you then. Bye, everybody. I'm sorry about this. This episode of the Long Run Podcast is sponsored by Skechers.